In today's video, we're going to be looking at how using AI writing tools has completely changed my life, and it's also saved me around 20 hours per week. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. My name's Alex. If you're new here, I'm a surgeon and the founder of a few edtech companies, and on this channel, we focus on AI tools and productivity to help you get the most out of your life. Now, I've been writing online for a little while now, and even before then, I used to write essays at medical school, I write emails all the time, I communicate with my team, and I've written some pretty complex business documents that have just taken me an absolute age. So appropriately, today's video is sponsored by the team at Grammarly. I was super excited when the team at Grammarly reached out to get me to check out their new strategic suggestions tool, which is essentially a new AI feature plugged into Grammarly's premium version that can take your writing to the next level. Now, I've split up today's super practical video into 5 parts. I'm going to start off by looking at how I would write essays for university utilizing AI writing tools to save a ton of time. Then I'm going to look at how I use them to write emails. Then I'm going to look at how I use them to write social posts, before finally looking at how I'd write a cover letter or a job resume if I was applying for a job at the moment. So hopefully these are all super practical and relevant for you. Do hit that subscribe button and let's jump right in to how I would start off by writing an essay if I was still at university that scores the best marks possible. When I was writing essays for things like dissertations or postgrad theses at medical school, I had a system that got me a first every single time. And I'm going to dive into it practically here and add in how I would utilize today's AI tools to make things even faster and save a ton of time while getting a first every single time. So first up, what I would do if I was planning an essay is I would split it up into 3 distinct sections: the introduction, the body of the text, and then the conclusion. Now, within the introduction, what we want is to reflect back on the title of our essay. So let's say the title of our essay is something like "The Role of Essay Writing or Writing Online for Human Society." What I might do immediately in that introduction is reflect back and explain what I'm going to discuss in my main body and why I'm writing this essay. Now, previously I might have to think that up, and when I was at medical school, I'd spend ages and ages planning over how I was going to introduce a topic, planning how I was going to divide things up, and then actually getting started writing could take me a heck of a long period of time. The good news here is that with AI tools, we can short circuit this and get started even faster. And I can do this simply by putting in a prompt that says something like, "My essay is about writing and its role in human society. I want you to write an engaging introduction to this essay that grabs the reader's attention and explains what I'm going to write within the essay itself. Please also provide a structure for the rest of the essay, including the body and the conclusion." And this then gives me some framework. The next part of essay writing is then looking at how to actually write the body of the essay. Our AI tools have given us a little bit of a heading here where we can think about a couple of different potential chapters for our essay or our thesis, and we can either accept these or we can tweak them, and then we can send them back into our AI tool and ask the AI to map out how we want those individual parts of the body of our text structured. Now, one of the big problems here is that if you just put this into ChatGPT, it doesn't sound particularly human, even if you customize the tone of voice. If we go back to Grammarly, Grammarly's also got a really cool tone of voice feature, which I've been using quite a lot recently because it tends to humanize the text much more so than some other AI tools out there. I can add in my own tone of voice here, as you can see me doing on screen, and this is super cool and helpful, particularly if you're worried about AI tools just throwing out generic answers and not actually working as a writing partner or assistant and making your text sound a little bit robotic and obvious that it's been written by an AI. Now, once we've had that structure, what I'd recommend doing here is going back over things and looking at whether we want to optimize things further, so shortening it or expanding it, or we want to optimize the tone of voice further. I might either just write normally in my own human tone of voice to optimize things, or I could run through something like Grammarly's spell checker or copy the whole thing back into the free version of ChatGPT and just get that reviewed instantly so so that each time I work through a section of the essay, I'm checking it, I'm optimizing it, I'm paraphrasing it until I get the version of the text that I want and I'm happy with, rather than trying to write everything all at once in the click of a button, which isn't going to be that accurate and which is going to make things sound a little bit weird. So once we're happy with that, we're then going to look at our conclusion. And really the conclusion should reflect back on everything we've written in the essay, and particularly on the title and the points that we've made in the introduction. So if we've made a bold claim like we have here about writing being absolutely essential to human performance, we're going to conclude by saying why this is and back it up by reflecting back on what we've written in the essay itself. So again, we can use any of our AI tools using a particular prompt that says something like, I want you to write a conclusion to my essay so far. And then I can paste in elements of my essay or just simply continue writing from where I last left off. Now, if I was writing this properly, it would probably reduce my writing time by about 60 to 70%, because a large portion of that is going to be times where I'm just sat staring at my computer screen, not knowing what to write. So hopefully that's given you some ideas about essay writing. But what about something that we do every single day that takes up a heck of a lot of our time? Across all of my businesses, I must write upwards of 500 emails a day, and it can be incredibly time consuming thinking about how to write effectively and concisely when we're writing to try and convince potential customers to buy our product, or writing to team members to delegate information, or like me, where I'm doing a lot of writing for things like newsletters, where I'm trying to entertain people and convince them to do something in a succinct way as possible. One of the big problems that I face is that it's very difficult knowing how to summarize and keep messaging short where you just want to focus on one particular point and do that really, really quickly. So for example, this week, I had an email for someone who wanted me to mentor them, and they'd put in a huge amount of text. Now, I just didn't have time to read this, and so I sent them something polite back, just saying that I didn't have a huge amount of time at the moment, but tried to offer a little bit of value in my response. The problem here is that even that response itself took up a lot of my time, and that person's original email probably took them a lot of time too, and just wasn't that effective at getting their message across to me as a particularly busy person. One of the best things to do is simply to keep it short. But when we try and keep things short, we need to paraphrase things, we need to cut out unnecessary words, and we need to format things on different lines so it's easy to read and it flows. There's a bunch of evidence that shows that email response rates are probably highest for emails where they're written in a kind of F shape, so you've got your first line that's the longest, and then subsequent lines gradually reduce in size, a little bit like the letter F. But even with that knowledge, it's really difficult actually reducing down and summarizing content. And this is what AI tools can come in to massively save you a ton of time. So if we look at Grammarly's tool, we can actually select a paragraph of text and ask the AI to summarize this and format it in a way that makes it more succinct, more readable, and makes it more likely for people to actually reply or click on a link within our email. Now for me, I do this all the time. If I'm writing something to customers, I'll just highlight a piece of text and I'll ask my AI tool that I'm using to summarize things and format it in just 2 or 3 lines and give it a persona or identity where they are a marketeer or an email marketing expert and they're trying to convince the person receiving the email to do something. Okay, my third practical example here of how to use AI writing tools effectively is in constructing business documents. If you're a business owner like me, you'll probably write things like sales proposals or look through contracts or write internal documentation for your company wiki so that your people know some of your processes and they can find things quickly and understand them easily. The problem is that writing these types of business documents, particularly things like proposals that should try and persuade your customer to actually sign on the dotted line, can be super time consuming and actually really difficult when you have to sit down and write them yourself. One of the big advantages with tools like Grammarly and the strategic suggestions option is that it will actually predict ways to improve your writing before you've even considered it yourself. Now, this is super helpful because as I'm writing and going through, I can simply click this or reject it. As I see these suggestions being proposed by Grammarly's tool, I will actually then optimize my own writing to sound a little bit more like that. And then the tool itself will help my overall proposal and my overall document to just sound a heck of a lot better and I can make any changes much more quickly than if I was just doing it manually or trying to copy and paste it into another AI tool, which then leads to that application switching and a little bit of procrastination and slow down where I just want to get a document done. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know that I put out a ton of content every single day because LinkedIn is one of the best mediums to build your audience on at the moment because of its organic reach. I'll post things about being an entrepreneur, or I'll share some of the best AI tools, a little bit like what I do on YouTube. But one of the things that really helps me here is creating that content using AI writing tools. If I was to write this out completely by myself, I might not know where to start, I might not have a format, and it would just take me ages. So there are a couple of things that really help me to post on LinkedIn and socials that are predominantly text-based, like Threads or Twitter, which just save me a heck of a lot of time. So the first thing is, I always have a system and a template that I'm writing towards. So if we analyze LinkedIn posts that get the most clicks and actually stop people when they're scrolling through their LinkedIn feed, it's often because they're formatted in a very readable and concise way. Not too dissimilar from emails, if you format things so that you've got a hook as your first line, which really speaks to the reader of that content, and then you have subsequent points on separate lines, and you use things like bullet points to focus information around, it just makes it so easy for people to read through. You can then also do some cool things where you structure what you write in a kind of F shape, or you have descending lengths of sentences as you go down your LinkedIn post. It just makes things a lot more readable. One of the big problems here is that if I was trying to put any content into a LinkedIn post and format it in such a way, it'll just take me ages. And so what I will often do is I will copy and paste a template like this that you can see on screen, where it's a format of a LinkedIn post that I know works and has got good open rates and click-through rates. And I will paste this into ChatGPT or another AI tool, and then I will ask it to create a post around a particular topic, which is then output in that format. Now, I might then go on and tweak that with some of my own thoughts and ideas, but just having that template system and then the AI tool to fill in some of the other areas from a topic saves me so much time. It's absolutely crazy. And it means I can put out a load of content, because a lot of the time getting noticed on these platforms is all about the quantity and quality of the topics that you're putting out. And if you want to keep your quality high while putting out a high quantity, then you're going to want to use AI writing tools. Now, the final way that AI writing tools have completely changed my life is when we think about jobs and job descriptions and cover letters. As a business owner, putting out the right job description that speaks to the widest audience possible is a real skill. We want to make sure that we're explaining exactly what the job is, what the deal is encompassing, and we also want to make sure that there's no inherent bias there, like my tone of voice might be geared up to a particular demographic, but it might forget other people who we do want to employ. And this is where using AI writing tools can be extremely helpful, not just when you're putting out job descriptions, but as you'll see in a second, even when you're writing your cover letter. The actual way that we write and the tone that we write in as humans is slightly biased based on how we've been brought up, how we've been trained, and how we write naturally. And this is again where AI tools have completely changed things. So again, I can instruct my AI to speak in a way that isn't biased and is inclusive in everything that we're saying, and even include things like a specific inclusivity statement at the end of our job description, as well as summarizing the role where it's previously taken me ages of just sitting down and thinking about the components of a role that I'm putting out as a job description. If you're on the other side of the fence and you're then applying for that job, but perhaps you might be dyslexic, or you're not that good at writing, or you're just not that persuasive in your writing, writing an effective cover letter can be really difficult too. We want to write in a way that speaks directly to the recruiter or the person that we're applying for a job from. And so what you can do here is you can take the job description and then ask it to create a cover letter in your own tone of voice. You can also add in some extras here, like highlighting the best parts of your CV, or saying how committed you are, or why you want this job for a little bit more personalization. We can then use Grammarly to spell check that before we send it off and make sure it's formatted it correctly. And this massively increases our chances of getting that job. If you think about it, personalizing a cover letter or a CV for every single role we might be applying for is just a crazy time-consuming exercise. Whereas with AI tools, if you can just copy the job description from the company you're applying at, you get that added element of personalization, which speaks directly to that recruiter or company and increases your chance of getting that job and improving your CV. Now, each of these 5 things that I do pretty regularly, from essay writing to sending emails to posting on social media to writing job descriptions of business documents, has been completely transformed using AI writing tools. If you write consistently and you improve your writing, it could completely change your life. Now, the team from Grammarly have kindly given a code down in the description below that's definitely worth checking out. Thanks so much for watching today's video and for subscribing. Let me know what you're using AI writing tools for in the comments below, and I'll catch you again next time. See ya.